For years, tuition in Alberta grew more and more expensive, putting accessibility at risk. But now, after 4 years of freezes, tuition costs are stable and education is affordable. Making tuition more affordable means more Albertans have access to post-secondary education, and that means more Albertans are set for success in a diverse and growing economy. It's looking up. To find out how you can take advantage of affordable tuition, visit alberta.ca/up. A message from the Government of Alberta.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello, Divas. Welcome back. You've just tuned into the Divas That Care. I am Candace Gish, and I'm the host of the show. I am just so excited to have each and every one of you tuning in today. We have a great show. We have an amazing brand new diva that we're going to be introducing you all to. And you know what? It's December. Oh, my goodness. It's almost Christmas time. If any of you live in Canada, I don't know if you're like me, I got a lot of snow over the weekend, and it's fun because now we're starting to build snowmen and some snow forts out here. So, as I said, I love December. I love what the inspiration of how December is and paying it forward. And for any of you that are part of the Changemakers Cafe, you'll understand that. So, again, let's get started, ladies. I'm really excited. Thank you again for tuning in. So today's guest, as I was saying, her name is Michelle Thomas, and I'm really excited. This lady is doing some fantastic things, and the reason why we're having her on the show in December, too, is because I think it's going to really inspire you for the 2019. So before I kind of tell a little bit about that, Michelle, I'm going to welcome you onto the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I also love December, although there's no snow where I'm at.
No, probably not. No. Well, we're so excited to have you. And, you know, Michelle, before we kind of dive into what our show's going to be about, could you talk and introduce yourself to our listeners and spend a few minutes doing that?
Of course, of course. The quick story is I'm just like most of the people who are struggling out there with, you know, binge eating, overeating, weight gain, and the cycling of the weight gain, weight loss. And I was on that roller coaster for a couple years and had no way to get out of it. I was doing what everybody else was doing, counting calories, counting carbs, cutting sugar, you name it, I tried it. And after doing that and with absolutely no success, I finally figured out how to exit that insane world of the dieting nonsense and get to a point in my life where I don't count my calories, I don't extreme exercise, I don't worry about my weight or what I'm going to eat or what I can or can't eat or go into 2000, you know, whatever with, oh, I'm going to lose weight this year. It's all just gone. And so when I figured that out, I basically made it my mission to help as many people as possible exit that insane world as well.
Oh, my gosh. And now, listeners, divas out there, you know why she's on our show today. This is going to be absolutely fantastic because, you know, I know that, there, like a lot of you out there, we're always coming, okay, it's 2019. We're going to have all these goals. We're going to have all these aspirations. What are we going to do? So, Michelle, let's talk about this. You know, you have a brand new book that just came out, and that's really what I want to talk about. But then I want to talk, how do we stop that insanity? How do we stop, you know, binge eating and doing that? So let's dive into your book, and let's get going.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. The have your cake and be happy too, because I truly believe in a life of balance. And I think that was the very first place that ended this insanity for me, was to stop living in the extremes of restriction or binging.
Love it. Love it. So what is your brand new book called?
Yes, it's called Have Your Cake and Be Happy Too, A Joyful Approach to Weight Loss.
Joyful. Wow. Well, that is fantastic. And why? And you wanted to, okay, so there's a lot of people out there that are talking about this. Why did you want to write this book?
So the thing about the weight culture and the dieting industry and all of that is that it's really teaching people that basically you're in one of two camps. You either can eat cake and have everything you want with food and weight and all of that, or you can't. And if you can't, then consider yourself unlucky and just stop eating that stuff and deal with it. That's kind of the general theme out there. And when I lived in that way, it never worked for me. Like, for me to live in a way where I'm like, well, some people get to enjoy those kinds of foods and be thin, but I don't, that didn't work for me. And I had to figure out a way in which we get to have both, not not in a crazy, out-of-control binging type of way, but in a normal way. Yes, everybody on the planet can have a piece of cake and be thin. It's not the cake that's the issue.
Oh, and I love that, because isn't that the truth? You know, there's so many things out there, and we're always looking for that quick fix. We're always looking about, okay, well, why is this working for this person? You know, they've been doing this, and they've told me about their program that they're doing. I'm doing it, but I'm not seeing the results. Is there a reason for that? Because I know that probably our divas are thinking, yeah, I understand that. What's going on with that?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, we have to look at what success really is, because if somebody has success with weight loss, for example, for a period of a year or 2 months or even 2 years, I don't consider that success, because you still haven't solved the problem. You may have put a Band-Aid on it. It's like taking an Advil every day for your headache. It's like you can maybe numb the pain for a period of time, but eventually what happens when you take Advil every single day?
And that's quite common, isn't it? Because we see people that have gone through extreme weight loss, and then all of a sudden you see them a year later and they've gained it all back. So is that mostly a psychological thing that's going on? And you're talking about Band-Aids. So is that what your book is about? Is going through that and helping them figure out what that Band-Aid, or like how to fix that?
Yeah, we want to do a long-term strategy, and everything that I've seen out there that is centered around food and exercise is going to be short-term based. And the problem with that is not only is it short-term based, so you don't actually solve the problem, is that psychologically you start to convince yourself that, you know, maybe I'm not so good at this, or maybe I'm not meant to lose weight, or maybe I'm never going to live a life where I don't worry about what to eat or feel out of control around food. It starts to feel impossible, and it's not because you're programmed to struggle with weight for your rest of your life, at least from my belief. I don't believe anybody is programmed to struggle with weight. But if you continuously fail at something that is meant to be failed at because it's short-term based, you will start to believe that you are the problem when really it's the method that's the problem.
Okay. So, Michelle, now I'm going to ask you, how is your book then different? Is yours a step-by-step guide? What can you share with us a little bit about what's in your book, so that our listeners can oh, okay, I understand what this book is gonna help me and how it's gonna work, and then how they can go out there and get it.
100%. So while all the other methods are short-term based, this book is based on a long-term strategy. So it's going to walk you through 7 steps, and in those 7 steps, all you have to do is follow it. And I even give you 2 levels of each step. You can just do the very basic level, just easy, simple things and see changes, or you can do the more in-depth version, which is going to change not just your habits around food and weight and movement, but actually your entire life, about how you approach this thing called body or weight or food or exercise. So it's giving you a simpler version and a more in-depth version. And maybe you go through the book the first time and do the simple version, and then you're like, all right, I'm ready for the deeper stuff, and kind of dive into that. But either way, it's all long-term strategies, not short-term.
Oh, and I love that. I love that you have 2 different ways that you can do it, because sometimes it's overwhelming for individuals to get too much into something. They want to
Absolutely.
go through it, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's working, and then they can dive into it. And ladies, this is Michelle's 3rd book. This isn't her 1st book. She's been doing this. She's been in the industry. You're a 12-year veteran, correct?
Yep, been in the industry for a while.
You've been in the industry, so she knows what she's talking about. Oh, my gosh, this is fantastic. Okay, so now that we've said that there's 7 steps to this, can you kind of give us a little bit of a tip of what one of those steps might be?
Yeah, the first one, so live connected. This is the reason why the first one is because it is the most important. And right now, the way that weight loss is taught is to really become disconnected from your body. It's really shaping the body to be the enemy. Basically, it says if you struggle with weight, there's something wrong with your body, and therefore you must buy XYZ to fix your body. So whether it's a drug or an eating plan or an exercise plan. But it's telling you not to trust your body. Your body's the problem. Override it. Don't listen to it, etc. So in this first step, Live Connected, I'm asking you to connect back to your body, the thing that knows how to burn fat, the thing that knows how to lose weight. There's nothing wrong with your body. Your body's only following orders from your mind, and a lot of times from either our homes that we grew up in or the media or whatever has written this language about what weight is. And so we might have messages in our body like, I can't eat that and be thin, or weight loss is hard for me, or I'm a big person. So you have all these messages, and the body is simply following orders. So we don't want to blame the body for being whatever it is or how it looks. We want to become allies with it and say, hey, body, what do you need to be most successful? What do you need to be optimal? How do you want to eat? How do you want to move? And what kind of quotient of rest versus work versus play do you need, as opposed to me trying to intellectualize it?
Okay, and how does that look like? I know that they're probably like, okay, I understand that, connecting and balance and all that, but how do we do that? Like, is this part of it? Do we start journaling? How do we connect? How do we find that connection? That's the question.
Yeah, so the body is always communicating with you, and as time goes on and we ignore those messages, they do get quieter. So the very first step is to first admit that you want your body to be in charge, that you want your body to lead, which means you have to kind of have a conversation with your body, whether you do that verbally or written or however, and just say, you know what, body, I'm going to stop beating you up and blaming you and not trusting you, and I'm going to let you take the lead here because clearly I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm going to let you do it because I'm pretty sure you were designed to do it. And once you kind of build that relationship again, the same way you would build a relationship with any person that you fell out of a relationship with, a positive one, and just kind of bridge that gap and then say, tell me what you need. Like if you wanted to recreate a friendship with someone, you would sit down with them and say, look, this has happened. I'm sorry that I did this. This is kind of how I felt from your end. I don't know if that's really what's happening. That's how I felt. So how do we fix this? What do you need from me? And how can we make this really work together?
Well, I love that. And I love that because I know a lot of our listeners they're more in tune that way. And, but for any of the people that might find this is like, okay, what is she talking about? What does she mean? I have to get in tuned and I have to talk to my body because, not everybody thinks on a holistic kind of a way. So how can you connect with these new people that are like, I'm not too sure what she's talking about?
Yeah, I would just write a letter, to your body. I'm sorry that I have put you at the bottom of the list. I'm sorry I've picked and prodded on you, and I can't blame you for where we are together because of how I've treated you. I mean, honestly, everyone that I speak with, the way they treat their body is not the way that they would ever want to be treated. And that's what's crazy about that is then you turn around and say, hey, do this for me. And not just a small thing. Like you're asking your body to do major things for you, to eat a certain way, to move a certain way, to burn calories a certain way in your timeline. And so you're asking so much of it. And so we do have to be honest with the fact that, like, well, how am I treating it in asking it of all these things?
Oh, well, I love it. And I love how you said that because I think it comes down to that. And a lot of people are like, oh, okay, I'm just going to write myself a letter. And it is, do we not treat ourselves worse than we treat anybody else? And I've had some amazing past guests come on and they say that. Would you ever treat your enemies the way that you treat yourself? And it really opens your eyes, and you realize, like, you know what, no, I would never talk to somebody like that the way that I would talk to myself. I would never put myself in that situation. I would never expect that from somebody else. But yet we seem to do that over and over to ourselves. And doesn't that just keep on knocking us down? And, it makes sense to me why our bodies probably aren't where they're supposed to be if we're not nice to ourselves.
Yeah, if we're not nice to ourselves, and then at the same time we're asking it to do all this stuff for us, but then we're micromanaging it like crazy, and it's like, well, do you want me to do this or do you not want me to do this? Because I'm confused, It's like you keep telling me you want me to do this, this, and this, but then every second you're looking over my shoulder, yelling at me, picking at me, prodding at me. Like if you think about it from a business standpoint, it's like having the worst boss in the world that's like demanding stuff from you every minute of the day and then screaming at you for not doing it in your time. And it's just kind of a nightmare. It's like, well, let me just do my thing. Like, leave me alone. And I feel like
yeah.
the body's kind of wanting that, right? Because the only time we give the body attention is usually in a negative way. And so your body's like, cool, I'm glad you showed back up to yell at me, but I kind of need some space. And if you are going to show up, at least be nice to me.
Oh, my gosh. Isn't that the truth? Oh, I just love this. Michelle, this is fantastic. Okay, so now that we've talked about your books, and as I was saying, ladies, she does have 3 books out there. And we're going to be posting that all on our social media, too. But do you currently, besides being an author, do you work with people? Do people come on to webinars with you, anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do work with groups and private clients as well to help them through this journey. So the book is kind of like the textbook, if you will, to all this material, because it's true that the way that we do this weight loss thing is drastically different than everything you've probably heard. So it takes a bit more education on the front end to use the process. So we've got like the textbooks that you would see in the bookstores, and then basically we have the curriculum, and then myself as the teacher, mentor, instructor, however you want to look at it, to guide you through this process of becoming someone who no longer has issues with weight or food or exercise. It's just not an issue anymore. You get to go and spend your life on other things besides your body. It just becomes something of the past.
Oh, my goodness, that is fantastic. So I'm going to kind of change the subject, just a little bit here. Do you work now with young adults, young teenagers that are really struggling with this, trying to figure this out? Do you work with them individually, or do you work in school systems, anything like that?
I have. So the way that it's worked for me in the past is that people have come to me with their teenage, daughters specifically, to help them with the other spectrum of the eating disorders. Because with my adult clients, I'm mostly working with binge eating, overeating, stress eating, although I have had bulimic, anorexic adults show up. But on the teenage side, I'm mostly dealing with anorexia, bulimia, and those kinds of eating disorders. The thing is, I don't think the dieting industry would ever admit it, but basically the way that they are teaching weight loss, it's all disordered eating. It's all eating disorders, the way that they're teaching it. It's leading to what we call in psychology disordered eating, because it's not clinically diagnosed. And so it doesn't even matter which side of that spectrum you're on. It's all part of the same, and it's all treated the same. And so with my teenage clients, I'm teaching them exactly the same things I'm teaching my adult clients. It's about connecting to the body. It's about being kind to yourself, and it's also about learning the truth about how food and exercise and weight all interact with one another, because it's not what we think it is. It's not the traditional calories in versus calories out model that we all hear about, because if it is, then we've got a lot of explaining to do, because there's a lot of people out there that eat a lot of food and are thin. There's a lot of people out there that eat a little food and are not thin. So, there's too many holes in that theory, so we can't use it. So then I have to help them learn what theories do work. And so I'm able to work with the teenagers in that way. And it has been one-on-one in the past. I'd love to get in the school systems. I'd love to get groups going. I've met a lot of resistance in that process, but it's definitely part of the plan going forward.
Oh, my goodness. I love it. I absolutely love it. And, Michelle, we're definitely going to have you back on the show again. And we'd love to support you in this endeavor, because I think that you're right. There has to be something that changes out there. This shouldn't be an issue, but it's a continuous thing, and it's always going on and on. And, for any of the ladies that are listening today, this is why I thought Michelle would be a perfect fit for us going into 2019. Let's just stop the cycle. Let's stop it altogether. Let's just eliminate it so that we don't have to struggle with this going on. It can be done. And I love it. So, Michelle, last question I do have, I just want to say, this is not something, obviously you said it's a long-term thing that these ladies and gentlemen are going to be doing. What is the process? What are you finding? How long is it taking for these people? Because obviously it's a book, but you're going to tell them, don't go through it so fast. Take your time, really go through it, do the steps that are required in order to really get to the next step. Is that am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah, definitely. The books are all short is the good news. They're like 100 so pages. It's not the crazy thing about this is when you're reading the books and when you're in the programs and whether it's by me or someone else that teaches these types of things, you'll realize it's so much simpler than you could ever imagine. And it's like, it just makes sense. Everyone says that. This just makes sense. They have a really hard time perceiving that it can be true just because everything else out there says it's not true. But when you sit down and are honest with yourself, it all makes sense. And so the good news is it doesn't actually take that long. So I work with my clients for 2 months, and after 2 months, they have everything they need to go forward and never have this problem again. The part that takes a lot longer is just the practice of it, because it's a new skill set that you don't have yet. And when you learn a new skill set, it takes time to master it. But it's just practice. It's just rinse and repeat.
Oh, I love it. And I know that our listeners are going to love that too. Oh, wow. Okay. So, Michelle, do you have any last-minute tips, tools, anything that you can leave our listeners today?
Absolutely. I just wanted to say real quick that the process of the binge eating topic as it stands is really not represented correctly out there. And so if binge eating is an issue for you, I just want to give you some help that it's not a food addiction. It's not actually an issue with food at all. And so that's what I wanted to gift everyone today is if they go to I'mDoneDieting.com, they'll have the plan to stop binge eating. It's not what they think it is. It's not about food addiction. It's not because you love food more than the other people. It has really nothing to do with that. So I wanted to leave everybody with that gift to end binge eating, because the binge eating is the part that feels really out of control. I know for me, it was the part I was the most ashamed about. It made me do really irrational things like steal food from my roommates. And I just felt like a crazy person. So if binge eating is a struggle for you, just go on over to the I'mDoneDieting.com and grab that free guide to stop. And it's so much simpler than you could ever imagine.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That is just wonderful. And ladies, I am going to be posting that on our social media, so you will have that. And oh my goodness. Oh, one last thing, Michelle. Can they purchase your book on your website, or is there somewhere else they can purchase it?
Yeah, they just go to I'mDoneDieting.com. Everything will be there. So that way it's all just in one spot, make it really simple for everybody.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Well, Michelle, it was just a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for speaking with all of our divas out there, and it was a pleasure getting to know you a bit here. And as I said before, I'd love to have you back on our show again.
I would love to come back. You just tell me when.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, oh my goodness, to all of our listeners out there. It's because of you that our show has been going on for almost 8 years here, and we are very excited. And thank you so much for sharing our shows with all your friends and family, and so that they can listen to all of our amazing divas. And this show especially is going to be fantastic. You know, we want to stop the cycle. Send this to all your friends and family, something that you can help them with or give them the gift of giving for 2019. And so I think that would be fantastic too. So I hope that each and every one of you has an amazing day. And you can check out all of our divas at divasthatcare.com. Until next time, everybody, have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.
For years, tuition in Alberta grew more and more expensive, putting accessibility at risk. But now, after 4 years of freezes, tuition costs are stable and education is affordable. Making tuition more affordable means more Albertans have access to post-secondary education, and that means more Albertans are set for success in a diverse and growing economy. It's looking up. To find out how you can take advantage of affordable tuition, visit alberta.ca/up. A message from the Government of Alberta.